A night so still, so heavy with silence, that even the stars seem to hold their breath. The forest stretches endlessly before you, ancient trees clawing at the heavens like desperate hands frozen in time. Their gnarled branches are silhouetted against the moon, a silver orb hanging low, casting an eerie glow over everything it touches. Shadows dance along the ground, alive and restless, as if they know something terrible is about to happen. And then the howls, distant at first, mournful and haunting, rising from deep within the woods. They echo through your chest, not just sound but sensation, primal and raw. This isn't just any forest. It's a place where legends live and die. In the center of this vast wilderness stands a woman, Calla. She's tall, strong, her frame built for survival. Yet tonight she looks fragile, broken. Her fiery red hair whips around her face, tangling in the wind like flames trying to escape. Tears streak down her cheeks, catching the pale light of the moon, glittering like shards of glass. But there's no softness in her expression now. Only pain, sharp, unbearable pain. You can feel it radiating off her, seeping into the air around her. Every muscle in her body tenses as she braces herself, though against what, you're not sure yet. Maybe she doesn't even know. Across from her looms a man, Drake Stormborn, alpha, leader, protector. His name alone commands respect. But right now, all you see is betrayal etched into every line of his face. His golden eyes burn with fury, molten and unyielding, boring into Calla as if he could tear her apart with his gaze alone. He towers over her, broad shoulders casting a shadow that swallows her whole. For a moment, you think maybe he'll soften, maybe those eyes will flicker with doubt or regret. But no, his jaw clenches, hard and final, and when he speaks, his voice cuts through the night like a blade. "You betrayed us, Calla," he says, each word landing like a blow. "Leave now or die." The words hit you like a punch to the gut. Betrayal? How could she have betrayed him? You've seen the way they look at each other, the way their bond feels unshakable, eternal. Or so you thought. Now, standing here under this cold, unforgiving sky, you wonder if you ever really knew them at all. Calla flinches, but she doesn't break. Not completely. She lifts her chin, meeting his gaze head-on, defiance blazing in her green eyes despite the tears streaming down her face. There's fire in her, too, buried beneath the weight of his accusation, smoldering quietly. But it's not enough, not tonight. Because Drake isn't just angry, he's devastated. You can see it in the slight tremor of his hand, in the way his voice cracks on the last word. Die. He means it. For a heartbeat, neither of them moves. The world holds its breath, waiting. Then Calla takes a step back, her boots crunching softly against the frost-covered leaves. Another step, and another. Each one feels heavier than the last, like gravity itself is working against her. She stumbles, catches herself, keeps going. Away from him. Away from everything she's ever known. Behind her, Drake watches, his fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turn white. For a split second, you think he might call out to her, stop her, take it all back. But he doesn't. Instead, he lets her go. Lets her walk away into the darkness, alone. As she disappears into the shadows, swallowed by the endless forest, the camera lingers on Drake. His shoulders slump, just slightly, but it's enough. Enough to show you that this decision is tearing him apart, piece by agonizing piece. And then the screen cuts to black. What would you do if the person who swore to protect you turned their back when you needed them most? Can true love survive betrayal? Find out in the Betrayed Alpha Bond. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss a single chapter. Chapter 1, The Fall from Grace. The screen fades back in, and the forest comes alive again. But this time it's different. The air feels lighter, warmer, as if we've stepped into a memory, a fleeting glimpse of what once was. Sunlight filters through the canopy above, golden rays dancing on the forest floor like fireflies. Birds chirp cheerfully, their songs mingling with the distant laughter of wolves. This is no haunted wood, this is home. Or rather, it was home. We see Calla first, standing at the edge of a clearing where young wolves wrestle playfully in the dirt. She's crouched low, her fiery red hair tied back in a loose braid, her green eyes sparkling with mischief as she watches them tumble over each other. One pup, a scrappy little thing with fur the color of autumn leaves, gets pinned by his brother. He whines dramatically, rolling onto his back to expose his belly. Calla chuckles softly, her voice warm and teasing. Not giving up already, are you, Rowan? Rowan shakes his head fiercely, scrambling to his feet. Never, he declares, puffing out his chest. I'll be alpha someday. Calla grins, reaching out to ruffle his ears affectionately. Then you'd better start learning how to win. Her tone shifts slightly, growing more serious but still gentle. Being alpha isn't just about strength, Rowan. It's about trust, loyalty, knowing when to fight and when to stand down. The words linger in the air, heavy with meaning, though none of the pups seem to notice. They're too busy chasing each other around the clearing, their joy infectious. Calla watches them for a moment longer before straightening, brushing stray bits of bark from her jeans. As she does, her gaze drifts toward the treeline, where another figure emerges. Drake. He moves with purpose, his steps deliberate yet unhurried. His presence commands attention without effort, every movement radiating power and control. Yet there's softness in his expression as he approaches Calla, something reserved only for her. When he speaks, his voice is low, rough-edged but tender. They look good, strong. They're getting there, Calla replies, smiling faintly. Still got a lot to learn, though. Drake nods, stepping closer until they're side by side. For a moment, they simply stand together, watching the pups wrestle and laugh. There's an unspoken connection between them, a bond so deep it almost hums in the air. They don't need words to communicate. They never have. Drake tilts his head, slightly, studying her profile. You're good with them, he says finally. Better than I ever was. Calla shrugs, trying to downplay the compliment, but her cheeks flush just slightly. Someone has to be. Besides, you've got your own strengths. She glances at him sideways, her smile turning mischievous, like scaring them into line during training. Drake snorts, shaking his head. That's called leadership. Sure it is, she teases, nudging him lightly with her elbow. Keep telling yourself that. For a heartbeat, the tension eases. The weight of the world lifts, replaced by the simple pleasure of being together. But then Drake's expression shifts, darkening subtly. Calla notices immediately, her smile fading. What's wrong? He hesitates, his jaw tightening. There's been talk, he says quietly. Rumors spreading among the pack. Her brow furrows, concern flickering across her face. What kind of rumors? About you. The words hang between them, sharp and cutting. Drake looks away, unable to meet her gaze. Some say you've been meeting with rival packs, that you're planning something. Calla stares at him, disbelief warring with hurt. You can't seriously believe that. I don't want to, he admits, his voice strained. But people are scared, Calla. They're looking to me for answers, and he breaks off, running a hand through his dark hair. I don't know what to think anymore. The silence stretches, thick and suffocating. Calla takes a step back, putting distance between them. So that's it? You're going to let whispers and lies come between us? It's not just whispers, Drake snaps, frustration bubbling to the surface. Messages were found near the borderlands. Messages signed with your name. Her breath catches, shock rippling through her. That's impossible. I haven't left the territory in weeks. Then explain it. Drake demands, his voice rising. Because everyone else seems convinced you're guilty. And what about you? She shoots back, her voice trembling with emotion. Do you believe them too? Drake doesn't answer. He can't or won't. Instead, he turns away, his shoulders rigid with tension. Calla watches him go, her heart pounding in her chest. For the first time, she feels truly alone. The days blur together after that, each one darker than the last. Whispers follow Calla wherever she goes, hushed conversations falling silent whenever she enters a room. The pack members who once greeted her warmly now avoid her gaze, their expressions guarded. Even the pups seem wary, keeping their distance during training sessions. Only Marcus, the retired detective-turned-ally, offers any semblance of support. One evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold, Calla sits cross-legged on the forest floor, poring over documents spread out before her. Marcus kneels beside her, his weathered hands flipping through pages of evidence. "This handwriting doesn't match yours," he says, pointing to one of the forged messages. Whoever wrote these wanted to make sure they looked convincing, but they slipped up. Calla leans forward, studying the note intently. Sure enough, the penmanship is slightly off, the strokes too jagged compared to her usual fluid script. Hope flares within her, fragile but undeniable. If we can prove these are fake, we might be able to clear your name, Marcus finishes, nodding grimly. But it won't be easy. Whoever's behind this knew exactly what they were doing. Before Calla can respond, a twig snaps nearby. Both heads snap up, alert and wary. Emerging from the shadows is a Rinder Blackfang, his cold gray eyes gleaming with malice. He smirks, holding up a crumpled piece of paper. "Looking for these?" he asks mockingly. "Too bad you're too late." Calla surges to her feet, fury blazing in her eyes. "What did you do?" Irinder shrugs nonchalantly, tossing the paper into the flames of a nearby campfire. "Just tying up loose ends. Can't have anyone questioning the truth, can we?" "You're lying." Calla snarls, taking a threatening step forward. "I didn't write those messages." "Says the traitor." Irinder sneers, a smirk widening. "Don't worry, Luna. Everyone will know the truth soon enough." With that, he melts back into the shadows, leaving Calla seething with rage. Beside her, Marcus places a calming hand on her shoulder. "We'll find another way," he promises. "But for now, we need to stay focused." When the trial finally arrives, the atmosphere is electric with tension. The entire pack gathers in the central clearing, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of torches. At the center stands Calla, surrounded by hostile stares. Across from her sits Drake, his expression unreadable as he listens to the accusations hurled against her. Evidence is presented. Intercepted messages, witness testimonies, even claims of strange behavior leading up to the incident. Each piece chips away at Calla's defenses, wearing her down bit by bit. Throughout it all, Drake remains silent, his golden eyes fixed on her. She pleads her innocence, her voice breaking with desperation. "I would never betray this pack or you," she tells him, tears streaming down her face. "Please, Drake, you know me. You know I'm telling the truth." For a moment, something flickers in his gaze. Doubt, guilt, regret. Then it's gone, replaced by steely resolve. Rising to his feet, he addresses the crowd. "As Alpha, it is my duty to protect this pack above all else," he says, his voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside him. "Until further proof arises, I must act in accordance with the law." "No." Calla cries, lunging toward him. "Drake, please." "Enough," he barks, cutting her off. "Your exile begins immediately. Leave now or face execution." The words hit her like a physical blow, knocking the wind from her lungs. Stumbling backward, she searches his face for any sign of mercy, any trace of the man she loves. But there's nothing, only emptiness. Turning away, she pushes through the crowd, ignoring the jeers and accusations trailing after her. As she disappears into the darkness beyond the clearing, the forest falls eerily silent. Then, Just as the pack begins to disperse, a faint whisper drifts through the trees. Soft, menacing, promising revenge. Calla freezes, her blood turning to ice. Who or what is out there? Chapter 2. Exile and Alliances. The forest swallows her whole, its shadows wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud. Calla stumbles blindly through the underbrush, each step pulling her further away from everything she's ever known. Her legs burn with exhaustion, her lungs ache with every ragged breath, but she forces herself to keep moving. To stop now would mean surrender, and Calla Stormborn doesn't surrender. Her fiery red hair clings damply to her face, streaked with dirt and sweat. The tears have long since dried, leaving behind streaks of salt on her cheeks. She feels hollow inside, as if Drake's words carved out a piece of her soul and left it bleeding in the clearing. But beneath the pain, something else simmers. Anger. White-hot, unrelenting fury that fuels her resolve. They may have cast her out, but they won't break her. As night falls, the temperature drops sharply. Frost begins to form on the leaves, glittering faintly under the pale light of the moon. Calla pulls her tattered jacket tighter around herself, shivering despite her best efforts to stay warm. Hunger gnaws at her stomach, sharp and insistent, but she pushes it aside. Survival is all that matters now. She collapses near a stream, too weak to take another step. The water reflects her haggard face back at her, eyes wide with desperation, lips cracked and dry. For a moment, she stares into her own reflection, searching for some semblance of the woman she used to be. But all she sees is a stranger, a broken shell of someone who once believed in love, loyalty, and justice. Exhaustion claims her then, dragging her down into an uneasy sleep. When she wakes hours later, disoriented and freezing, she realizes she's no longer alone. A figure kneels beside her, his silhouette outlined by the dim glow of dawn. At first, panic surges through her veins, adrenaline spiking as she scrambles backward. But the man holds up his hand slowly, palms facing outward in a gesture of peace. "Easy," he says, his voice calm but firm. "I'm not here to hurt you." Calla narrows her eyes, studying him warily. He's older, his face lined with age and experience. His dark hair is streaked with gray, and his piercing blue eyes seem to see straight through her defenses. There's a kindness there, though tempered by caution. Something about him feels familiar, almost comforting. But trust is a luxury she can't afford anymore. "Who are you?" she demands, her voice hoarse from lack of use. "My name's Marcus," he replies, lowering his hands but keeping his distance. "I found you collapsed near my cabin last night. You're lucky I came along when I did. You wouldn't have lasted much longer out here." Calla hesitates, torn between gratitude and suspicion. Humans rarely venture this far into the wilderness, especially ones who don't immediately recoil in fear at the sight of a werewolf. But Marcus doesn't flinch. Instead, he watches her with quiet curiosity, as if waiting for her to make the next move. "What do you want?" she asks finally, her tone guarded. Marcus shrugs, slightly, leaning back on his heels. "Just to help, if you'll let me. You look like you've been through hell." His words hit closer to home than she cares to admit. Still, she doesn't respond, her gaze darting toward the tree-line instinctively. If anyone from the pack were to find her here. "I know what you are," Marcus adds softly, breaking the silence. "And I know why you're running." Calla stiffens, her heart pounding in her chest. "You don't know anything," she snaps, her voice sharper than intended. "Maybe not," Marcus concedes, unfazed by her hostility. "But I do know betrayal when I see it. And I know how hard it is to fight back when everyone's turned against you." Something in his tone gives her pause. It's not pity, it's understanding. Reluctantly, she lowers her guard just enough to ask, "Why should I trust you?" "Because I've got nothing to gain by lying to you," Marcus answers simply. "And because sometimes even the strongest among us need someone to lean on." For a moment, neither of them speaks. The weight of his words hangs heavy in the air, pressing down on Calla until she can barely breathe. Finally, she exhales shakily, nodding once. Fine, but if you try anything, you'll rip me apart, Marcus finishes with a wry smile. Got it. Over the next few days, Marcus introduces Calla to his small community, a cluster of cabins nestled deep within the forest. The humans are wary of her at first, their gazes lingering on her claws and fangs with thinly veiled fear. But Calla makes a conscious effort to prove she means no harm, offering to help with chores or tend to injuries whenever possible. Slowly but surely, their distrust begins to fade, replaced by cautious acceptance. One evening, as they sit around a crackling fire, Marcus hands her a steaming mug of tea. So, he says casually, care to tell me what happened? Or are we still pretending you ended up half dead in my backyard by accident? Calla takes a sip of the tea, letting the warmth spread through her chest before answering. It's complicated. When isn't it? Marcus counters, raising an eyebrow. She sighs, setting the mug aside. They think I betrayed them. My pack. My mate. The words catch in her throat, raw and painful. They accused me of conspiring with rival packs, of planning to overthrow our alpha. None of it's true, but she trails off, shaking her head bitterly. They didn't believe me, so they exiled me. Marcus listens intently, his expression unreadable. Do you have any idea who might have framed you? No, Calla admits, frustration creeping into her voice. But whoever it was, they were thorough. Messages, witnesses, they had everything they needed to make it stick. And yet you're convinced you can clear your name. I have to be, she says fiercely, her green eyes flashing with determination. If I don't, then what was it all for? Everything I've done, for the pack, for Drake, it would mean nothing. Marcus nods, thoughtfully, leaning forward slightly. Then maybe it's time we started digging. That night, Calla lies awake in the spare room Marcus offered her, staring at the ceiling as memories flood her mind. She remembers the day Drake chose her as his Luna, the pride in his golden eyes, the way his voice softened when he said her name. She remembers standing beside him during hunts, strategizing battles, mentoring younger wolves. Together, they were unstoppable, balancing each other's strengths and weaknesses with effortless grace. But those memories are overshadowed now by darker ones. The accusations, the trial, the look in Drake's eyes when he sentenced her to exile. Betrayal cuts deeper than claws, and Calla knows she'll carry the scars of that night for the rest of her life. Determined to focus on something productive, she slips out of bed and retrieves the documents Marcus salvaged earlier. Spread across the table, they seem innocuous at first glance. Forged messages, witness statements, cryptic notes scribbled in haste. But as she examines them more closely, inconsistencies begin to emerge. Handwriting discrepancies, inaccurate timestamps, details that don't quite add up. What are you doing? Marcus asks, appearing in the doorway with a yawn. Looking for answers, Calla replies without looking up. There's something off about these messages. Someone went to great lengths to make them believable, but they slipped up. Marcus joins her at the table, peering over her shoulder. Like what? This one, she says, pointing to a crumpled note. It mentions a meeting near the eastern borderlands 3 nights ago. Problem is, I was leading a patrol on the western side of the territory that entire week. Whoever wrote this didn't bother checking my schedule. Careless mistake, Marcus muses, rubbing his chin. Or deliberate sloppiness, meant to throw us off. Either way, it's a lead, Calla says firmly. We need to cross-reference these dates with the PAC's records. If we can pinpoint where the timeline breaks, we might be able to trace it back to whoever's behind this. They work late into the night, piecing together fragments of evidence, like a puzzle. Just as exhaustion begins to set in, Calla uncovers something unexpected tucked inside a folder. A folded map, yellowed with age and marked with strange symbols. Her brow furrows as she unfolds it, tracing the lines with her finger. "Where did this come from?" she asks, holding it up for Marcus to see. He frowns, taking the map from her. "I don't remember seeing that before. What does it show?" "It looks like forbidden territory," Calla murmurs, her voice tinged with unease. "This region hasn't been mapped in centuries. Ancient magic supposedly guards it, keeping outsiders away." Marcus's expression darkens. "Do you think it's connected to whoever framed you?" Before Calla can answer, a sudden gust of wind rattles the windows, extinguishing the candles scattered around the room. Darkness envelopes them, thick and oppressive. Outside, the trees sway ominously, their branches scraping against the walls like skeletal fingers. And then, faint but unmistakable, comes the sound of footsteps approaching the cabin. As the footsteps grow louder, Calla and Marcus exchange a tense glance. Who or what is outside? And why does it feel like they're being watched? Chapter 3: Shadows Within the Pack. The footsteps outside grow louder, each one a deliberate thud against the wooden porch. Calla's instincts scream at her to shift, to let her wolf take over and face whatever threat lurks beyond the door. But she hesitates, gripping the edge of the table as Marcus moves silently to retrieve a lantern from the corner. His movements are careful, measured, but there's no mistaking the tension in his shoulders. He knows as well as she does that they're not alone. With a flick of his wrist, he ignites the lantern, its soft glow casting long shadows across the room. The light reveals nothing out of place, no intruder lurking by the window, no ominous figure standing just beyond the threshold. Yet the air feels heavier now, charged with an energy that prickles along Calla's skin like static electricity. Something is wrong. "Stay here," Marcus whispers, his voice barely audible even in the stillness. Before Calla can protest, he slips toward the door, holding the lantern high. She watches him turn the handle slowly, pulling it open inch by inch. The hinges creak softly, a sound so ordinary it feels almost mocking in the oppressive silence. Beyond the doorway lies only darkness, thick, impenetrable blackness that swallows the light whole. Marcus steps onto the porch cautiously, scanning the area. "Hello," he calls out, his tone firm but tinged with unease. There's no response, only the faint rustle of leaves stirred by the wind. Calla follows him reluctantly, her claws extending instinctively as her senses go on high alert. The forest seems eerier tonight, the usual symphony of nocturnal creatures replaced by an unnatural quiet. Even the stars above appear dimmer, obscured by clouds that weren't there moments ago. She glances back at the map clutched tightly in her hand, its cryptic symbols glowing faintly under the lantern light. Whatever this map leads to, it's clear someone or something doesn't want them looking too closely. Marcus exhales sharply, lowering the lantern. False alarm, I guess. But Calla isn't convinced. She tilts her head slightly, catching a whisper carried on the breeze. A single word, barely audible, yet unmistakably menacing. "Traitor!" Her breath catches, her heart hammering in her chest. She spins around, searching for the source of the voice, but the forest remains silent once more. Marcus notices her reaction immediately. "What is it?" "Someone's watching us," she mutters, her gaze darting between the trees. "We need to get inside." They retreat quickly, bolting the door behind them and extinguishing the lantern to avoid drawing attention. In the sudden darkness, Calla leans against the wall, her mind racing. That voice, it wasn't human, and it wasn't meant as a warning. It was a promise. Meanwhile, miles away in the heart of the Pack's territory, Drake sits alone in his cabin, staring into the dying embers of the fire. The weight of his decision presses down on him like a physical force, making it hard to breathe. Images of Calla haunt him, the look of betrayal in her eyes as he condemned her, the way her voice broke when she begged him to believe her. He rubs his temples, trying to push the memories aside, but they refuse to fade. Outside, chaos reigns. Hunters have gone missing without explanation, their trails vanishing as if erased by some unseen hand. Supplies stored for winter have been sabotaged, leaving the pack scrambling to make up for the losses. Whispers spread among the wolves, rumors of curses and omens tied to Calla's exile. Some claim they've seen strange figures prowling near the borders, their forms shifting unnaturally in the moonlight. Others insist they've heard howls unlike any they've encountered before, low, guttural sounds that send chills down their spines. Drake tries to dismiss the stories as paranoia, but deep down he knows better. Something is wrong, terribly wrong, and the guilt gnawing at him grows stronger with each passing day. Exiling Calla should have restored order, should have silenced the unrest within the pack. Instead, it feels like the opposite has happened, like tearing her away left a void that nothing else can fill. He rises abruptly, pacing the length of the room. His instincts urge him to act, to investigate these disturbances himself, but doubt holds him back. What if he finds proof that Calla truly was innocent? What then? Could he face her again after what he's done? Or worse, what if she refuses to forgive him? A knock at the door pulls him from his thoughts. Irinder stands on the other side, his cold gray eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Alpha," he says smoothly, inclining his head. "There's been another incident. One of our scouts reported seeing movement near the eastern borderlands. Unnatural movement." Drake narrows his eyes, suspicion flickering in his golden gaze. "Unnatural how?" Irinder shrugs, feigning ignorance. "Hard to say, but it might be worth investigating personally. After all, we wouldn't want anything unexpected happening." The implication hangs heavy in the air, unspoken yet impossible to ignore. Drake nods curtly, dismissing him. As Irinder walks away, Drake can't shake the feeling that something about his demeanor is off. Too calm, too detached, like he knows more than he's letting on. Underscore. Later that night, Calla sneaks back into the pack's territory under cover of darkness. Her movements are silent, precise, honed by years of training as Luna. She avoids patrols effortlessly, sticking to the shadows as she makes her way toward the heart of the camp. Her goal is simple: gather information, find out who framed her and why. But as she creeps closer, she hears voices drifting from one of the cabins, familiar voices. Peering through the cracked window, she sees Irinder sitting across from a cloaked figure whose face is obscured by a hood. Their conversation is hushed, urgent, but Calla strains to catch every word. "The plan is working perfectly," Irinder says, his smirk visible even in the dim light. "The Alpha is losing control, and the pack is fracturing just as we predicted." "And the girl?" the cloaked figure asks, their voice low and silky, sending shivers down Calla's spine. "Has she been dealt with?" "She fled into the wilderness," Irinder replies dismissively. "She won't last long out there. Not with Lilith hunting her." Calla freezes, her blood turning to ice. Lilith. The name sends a jolt of recognition through her. A shadowy figure whispered about in legends, said to wield ancient magic capable of destroying entire packs. If Irinder is working with her. Before she can process further, the cloaked figure leans forward slightly, revealing pale violet eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "Good. Once the pack falls, the sacred land will be ours." And then they trail off, their lips curling into a sinister smile. Everything changes. Calla's mind races, piecing together fragments of the puzzle. Sacred land, forbidden territory, the map hidden among the evidence. It all connects somehow, but she doesn't have time to dwell on it. A twig snaps behind her, startling her into motion. She ducks low, slipping into the bushes just as a patrol rounds the corner. Heart pounding, she waits until they pass before retreating deeper into the woods. She needs to warn Marcus, but first, she has to confirm one thing. As she approaches the tree-line, she spots a figure watching her from afar. Lilith. The sorceress's raven-black hair billows in the wind, her violet eyes locking onto Calla with predatory intensity. For a moment, neither moves, the tension between them crackling like lightning. Then Lilith smiles a slow, chilling grin and vanishes into thin air. Calla exhales shakily, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She turns to leave, but before she can take another step, shadows detach themselves from the trees surrounding her. Figures emerge, their forms distorted, their eyes glowing with malice. Well, well, one of them purrs, stepping forward. Look what we've caught. Trapped and outnumbered, Calla bares her teeth, ready to fight. But as the figures close in, she realizes they're not alone. From the darkness comes a familiar voice, dripping with venom. Did you really think you could escape me? Who is it, and what do they want with her? Back at Marcus's cabin, Calla lays out everything they've uncovered so far. The forged messages, the strange map, Arinder's cryptic conversation with Lilith's servant. Drake listens intently, his golden eyes narrowing as the pieces begin to fall into place. If what you're saying is true, he murmurs, trailing off as realization dawns. Then Arinder set you up. He framed you to destabilize the pack and make me vulnerable. Calla nods grimly. Exactly. And whatever Lilith's planning, it's tied to the sacred land, the forbidden territory marked on this map. She unfolds the ancient parchment, spreading it across the table. Its symbols glow faintly under the lantern light, pulsing with an energy that makes the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. Drake leans forward, studying the map closely. This region hasn't been accessed in centuries. Ancient magic guards it, supposedly impenetrable. How could Lilith even hope to break through? That's what we need to find out, Calla replies, her voice tinged with unease. But if she succeeds, she'll destroy us, Drake finishes, his tone grim. We have to stop her. Their chemistry reignites as they work together, piecing together fragments of information late into the night. Old habits resurface, Drake strategizing aloud while Calla counters with practical insights, their dynamic as natural as breathing. Yet beneath the surface, mistrust simmers, a fragile barrier holding back emotions neither is ready to confront. At one point, Drake pauses, glancing at her sidelong. Why didn't you tell me sooner? About the evidence, the inconsistencies. Why didn't you fight harder during the trial? Calla meets his gaze steadily, her green eyes filled with quiet pain. Would it have mattered? You'd already made up your mind. The accusation hangs in the air, raw and unyielding. Drake looks away, guilt etched into every line of his face. I was wrong, he admits quietly. About you. About everything. Before Calla can respond, Marcus enters the room, carrying a bundle of documents. I found something, he announces, laying them on the table. Among them is a journal belonging to an elder from decades ago, detailing rituals performed near the sacred land. One entry stands out. Beware the blood moon. When the veil thins, the gate shall open. Only unity can seal it again, or doom us all. Calla's stomach drops. The blood moon. It's tonight. Drake curses under his breath, rising to his feet. If Lilith opens that gate, we're finished. We need to get to the sacred land now. As they race through the forest toward the forbidden territory, the atmosphere grows heavier, oppressive. The trees seem taller, their branches twisting unnaturally toward the sky. A low hum vibrates in the air, growing louder with each step. Shadows flicker at the edges of their vision, taunting them, daring them to turn back. When they reach the clearing marked on the map, they find it surrounded by corrupted beasts, twisted versions of wolves, their eyes burning with malevolent light. At the center stands Lilith herself, her violet eyes gleaming with triumph as she chants in a language older than time. Behind her looms a massive portal, swirling with darkness that seems to pulse with a heartbeat of its own. "This is it," Calla whispers, her voice trembling with dread. She's summoning it. Drake steps forward, his fists clenched. "Then we stop her." But before they can act, Lilith turns to face them, her lips curving into a sinister smile. "You're too late," she purrs, raising her hands. The gate is open, and soon the world will burn. As Lilith completes the ritual, the ground beneath them begins to crack, fissures spreading outward like veins. From the depths rises a monstrous shape, its form shifting and indistinct. Its roar shakes the heavens and then silence. What has Lilith unleashed? And can Calla and Drake possibly hope to defeat it? Chapter 5. The battle begins. The air is thick with dread as the monstrous shape rises from the fissure, its form shifting between dimensions. Part shadow, part flesh, all terror. It towers over them, its presence suffocating, its roar reverberating through their bones like a death knell. Lilith stands before it, her violet eyes gleaming with triumph as she raises her arms, her voice slicing through the chaos. "Behold, the harbinger of your doom." Calla's heart pounds in her chest, but she doesn't falter. She steps forward, planting herself firmly between Lilith and the portal, her fiery red hair whipping around her face like a banner of defiance. "Not while I'm still breathing," she snarls, her claws extending instinctively. Drake moves beside her, his golden eyes blazing with determination. For a moment, they lock gazes, an unspoken understanding passing between them. This isn't just about survival, it's about redemption. About proving that even broken bonds can be mended if fought for fiercely enough. "We need help," Calla says under her breath, her tone urgent. "We can't take her alone." Drake nods grimly. "Then let's get it." By dawn, the forest buzzes with activity. Calla rallies both humans and loyal pack members, her leadership shining through every word she speaks. She addresses them not as exiles or outcasts, but as equals, warriors united by a common cause. Her green eyes burn with conviction as she stands atop a rocky outcrop overlooking the makeshift camp, her voice carrying across the clearing. "They've taken everything from us," she declares, her words raw and unyielding. "Our homes, our trust, our loved ones. But they haven't taken our spirit. Not yet. If we stand together, if we fight together, we can stop them. We can reclaim what's ours." The crowd erupts into cheers, their loyalty reignited by her passion. Marcus steps forward, his weathered face set with resolve. "You've got us, Calla. Every last one of us." As the sun climbs higher, training montages unfold. Scenes of unity and preparation that highlight Calla's strategic brilliance. Humans and werewolves spar side by side, learning to complement each other's strengths. Young wolves practice formations under Calla's guidance, while seasoned fighters sharpen their instincts. Drake takes charge of tactical planning, his experience as alpha evident in every decision. Together, they forge a fragile but powerful alliance, one built on mutual respect and shared purpose. But beneath the surface, tension simmers. As Drake briefs the group on Arinder's betrayal, his guilt becomes palpable. He paces restlessly, his jaw clenched tight as he recounts how easily he was manipulated. "I should have seen it," he mutters bitterly. "Should have trusted you." Calla places a hand on his arm, the gesture simple, yet loaded with meaning. "We don't have time for regrets," she says softly. "What matters now is stopping them." Her touch lingers just a second too long, sparking something neither dares to name. They pull apart quickly, focusing instead on the task at hand. Yet the connection remains, a flicker of hope amid the storm. Night falls once more, and the final battle begins. The sacred land looms ahead, bathed in an eerie crimson glow cast by the blood moon. Shadows writhe across the ground like living things, twisting and writhing as if feeding off the chaos. The air crackles with energy, charged with the weight of ancient magic. Lilith waits at the center, flanked by corrupted beasts whose forms are grotesque parodies of wolves. Their eyes burn with malevolence, their growls low and guttural. Behind them, the portal pulses ominously, tendrils of darkness reaching outward like grasping hands. Calla leads the charge, her movements fluid and precise. With a deafening roar, the two sides collide, werewolves clashing against corrupted beasts in a frenzy of teeth and claws. Chaos reigns as bodies crash into one another, the sounds of battle filling the night. Blood stains the frost-covered earth, mingling with the crimson light of the moon. In the midst of the carnage, Drake confronts Arinder. The traitorous enforcer smirks, his cold gray eyes gleaming with malice. "You always did favor her," he sneers, circling Drake like prey. "Even when she betrayed you." "She didn't betray me," Drake growls, his voice dripping with venom. "You framed her." "Why?" Arinder hesitates, his smirk faltering slightly. Then, with a bitter laugh, he admits the truth. "Because I couldn't stand seeing you choose her over me, over everyone else. Lilith promised me power, a chance to reshape the pack in my image. All I had to do was play along. And look where it got you," Drake snaps, lunging forward. Their fight is brutal, fueled by years of resentment and anger. Claws slash, teeth snap, and blood spills as they tear into each other with feral intensity. But despite Arinder's cunning, Drake's strength prevails. With a final, savage strike, he pins the enforcer to the ground, his golden eyes blazing with fury. "You're finished," Drake snarls, raising his claws for the killing blow. For a moment, Arinder looks almost pitiful, broken. "It wasn't supposed to end like this," he whispers hoarsely. Drake hesitates, his grip loosening slightly. Then, with a growl of disgust, he releases him. "Go. If I see you again, I won't hesitate." Arinder scrambles away, vanishing into the shadows. Drake watches him go, his chest heaving with exertion. But there's no time to dwell on what just happened. The battle rages on, and Calla needs him. Meanwhile, Calla faces Lilith herself. The sorceress stands at the edge of the portal, her violet eyes glowing brighter with every passing second. Around them, corrupted beasts surge forward, overwhelming the defenders. Calla fights with everything she has, her movements fueled by desperation and rage. Each strike brings her closer to Lilith, but the sorceress remains infuriatingly calm, dodging attacks with effortless grace. "You think you can stop me?" Lilith taunts, her voice dripping with mockery. "You're nothing but a pawn in a game far greater than you'll ever understand." "I understand enough," Calla retorts, slashing at her with renewed ferocity. "Enough to know you're afraid." Lilith laughs, the sound sharp and cruel. "Afraid? Of you? Child, you underestimate me." With a flick of her wrist, Lilith summons a wave of dark energy, sending Calla sprawling backward. Pain explodes in her ribs as she hits the ground hard, her vision swimming. For a moment, she thinks it's over, that she's failed. But then she hears Drake's voice cutting through the chaos. "Calla!" he shouts, rushing to her side. His golden eyes are wide with panic, his hands gripping her shoulders tightly. "Are you all right?" She nods, pushing herself to her feet. "We can't give up, not now." Together, they turn back toward Lilith, their combined strength giving them newfound resolve. Side by side, they launch themselves at the sorceress, their movements synchronized perfectly. For a fleeting moment, it feels like they might actually win. But then Lilith smiles a slow, chilling grin and raises her hand. A pulse of dark energy shoots outward, striking Drake squarely in the chest. He staggers, clutching at his heart as a faint mark appears on his skin, a sigil glowing with unnatural light. "No!" Calla whispers, her voice trembling with horror. "What did you do to him?" Lilith tilts her head, her expression smug. "Oh dear, didn't he tell you? Your precious Alpha has been mine all along." As Drake collapses to his knees, the sigil spreading across his body like wildfire, Calla screams his name, her voice breaking with despair. Is this the price of their unity, their love? And if so, can she find a way to save him before it's too late? Chapter 6. Forgiveness or Vengeance. The sigil burns across Drake's chest like a brand, its unnatural light pulsing with each labored breath he takes. Calla drops to her knees beside him, her hands trembling as she tries to touch the mark, but it repels her, sending a shockwave of dark energy coursing through her veins. She gasps, pulling back instinctively, her green eyes wide with terror. "Drake!" she whispers, her voice breaking under the weight of desperation. "Fight it, please." He looks up at her, his golden eyes clouded with pain and confusion. The man she loves, the Alpha who once stood unshakable, is crumbling before her very eyes. His lips part as if to speak, but no words come. Instead, a low growl escapes his throat, feral and unfamiliar. The corruption is taking hold, twisting him into something he's not. Lilith watches from afar, her violet eyes gleaming with cruel satisfaction. "Such a pity," she purrs, tilting her head mockingly. "All that power wasted on someone so sentimental." Calla rises slowly, her entire body vibrating with rage. Tears streak down her face, but they don't weaken her. They fuel her. Every ounce of betrayal, every moment of heartbreak, crystallizes into pure determination. She won't lose him. Not now. Not ever. "You think you've won?" Calla snarls, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "You're wrong." Lilith smirks, raising her arms dramatically. "Oh, darling, this isn't about winning. It's about control. And soon, your precious pack will bow to me or burn." With those chilling words, Lilith turns her attention back to the portal behind her, chanting in an ancient tongue that sends shivers rippling through the air. The darkness within the gateway churns violently, tendrils of shadow lashing out like whips. Corrupted beasts surge forward, their glowing eyes fixed on Calla and the dwindling defenders. But Calla doesn't flinch. She steps between Lilith and the others, her fiery red hair whipping around her like a storm. Her claws extend, her muscles tense, and for the first time, she feels the full weight of what it means to lead, not just as Luna, but as someone willing to sacrifice everything for the people she loves. And then she makes her choice. Instead of attacking Lilith directly, she focuses on the corrupted beasts. They may be monsters now, but they were once wolves, members of her pack, family. With a deep, steadying breath, Calla lets out a howl so powerful it shakes the ground beneath their feet. It's not a cry of aggression. It's a call to remembrance, a plea for connection. One by one, the beasts pause mid-charge, their heads tilting curiously. For a fleeting moment, the corruption flickers, revealing glimpses of the souls trapped inside. Calla presses forward, her voice softening despite the chaos around her. "Remember who you are," she urges, meeting their glowing eyes with unwavering resolve. "You're not her puppets. You're stronger than this." Her words resonate deeply, cutting through the haze of Lilith's influence. Slowly, painfully, the beasts begin to transform back into their true forms. Wolves battered and broken, but free. Some collapse in exhaustion, while others limp toward Calla, nuzzling against her legs in silent gratitude. The tide of the battle shifts dramatically, leaving Lilith exposed. Fury flashes across the sorceress's face, her composure cracking for the first time. "How dare you!" she screams, hurling bolts of dark energy at Calla. But the werewolf dodges them effortlessly, closing the distance between them with terrifying speed. When she finally reaches Lilith, she doesn't strike. Instead, she grabs the sorceress by the shoulders, forcing her to meet her gaze. "This ends now," Calla says firmly, her voice steady despite the tremor in her limbs. "Your hate has no power here." For a heartbeat, Lilith hesitates, her violet eyes widening in surprise. Then, with a shriek of defiance, she dissolves into shadows, vanishing into thin air. A faint echo lingers. This isn't over. As the portal collapses in on itself, the battlefield falls eerily silent. Exhausted survivors gather around Calla, their expressions a mixture of awe and relief. Among them is Marcus, his face lined with fatigue but brightened by pride. He places a hand on her shoulder, offering a small nod of acknowledgement. "You did it," he murmurs, but Calla barely hears him. Her focus is entirely on Drake, who still kneels where she left him, the sigil fading but not gone. She rushes to his side, dropping to her knees once more. His breathing is shallow, his golden eyes dimmed but aware. When he sees her, a flicker of recognition sparks within him. "Calla!" he rasps, reaching out weakly. His hand trembles as it brushes hers, and for a moment she fears he might slip away completely. "I'm here," she whispers, gripping his hand tightly. "I'm not letting go." Drake exhales shakily, guilt etched into every line of his face. "I failed you. Again." "No," Calla interrupts firmly, her voice thick with emotion. "You came back. That's all that matters." They sit there together, surrounded by the aftermath of battle, their bond fragile but unbroken. For the first time in what feels like forever, silence stretches between them, not out of mistrust, but understanding. Forgiveness isn't easy, but it's possible, and they both know it starts now. Later, as dawn breaks over the sacred land, Calla addresses the remnants of the pack. Her voice carries across the clearing, strong and resolute. "We've lost much," she begins, pausing to let the weight of her words sink in. "But we've also gained something far greater: unity. Humans and werewolves fought side by side tonight, proving that our differences don't divide us, they make us stronger." She glances at Marcus, who stands among the crowd, nodding in agreement. Beside her, Drake steps forward, his posture straighter though still marked by weariness. His golden eyes scan the faces of his pack, lingering on Calla before he speaks. "I made mistakes," he admits, his tone raw and honest. "Mistakes I'll spend the rest of my life trying to fix. But I swear to you all, to her, that I'll do better. We'll rebuild. Together." A murmur of approval ripples through the group, followed by cheers. The pack rallies around their leaders, united once more. As the sun climbs higher, casting warm light over the frost-kissed earth, the healing begins. Calla and Drake share a quiet moment away from the others, standing beneath the canopy of trees. Their hands find each other naturally, fingers intertwining as if afraid to let go. Neither speaks. Words seem unnecessary now. Instead, they simply exist in the moment, drawing strength from each other's presence. "We'll get through this," Calla says finally, her voice soft but certain. "No matter what comes next." Drake nods, pulling her closer. Together, they embrace, their bodies fitting perfectly despite the scars they carry. For the first time in weeks, hope feels real again. But peace never lasts long in the world of werewolves. As the day wears on and the survivors begin repairing the damage wrought by Lilith's schemes, a distant howl echoes through the forest. It's low and mournful, yet unmistakably menacing, a reminder that danger always lurks just beyond the horizon. Calla stiffens, turning toward the sound. Drake follows her gaze, his jaw tightening slightly. "Do you think she meant it?" he asks quietly. "That she'll return?" Calla exhales slowly, her green eyes reflecting the weight of the question. "I don't know," she admits, "but if she does—" "We'll face her," Drake finishes, his voice firm. "Together." As the howl fades into silence, a pair of glowing violet eyes watches from the shadows. Lilith may be gone for now, but her promise hangs heavy in the air. What new threats lie ahead for Calla and Drake? And can their renewed bond withstand whatever comes next? The final scene unfolds as the first rays of sunlight break over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose. The forest awakens slowly, its shadows retreating before the warmth of dawn. Calla and Drake stand side by side on a hill overlooking their territory, their silhouettes framed by the rising sun. Frost clings to the grass beneath their feet, sparkling like scattered diamonds, while the distant calls of birdsong fill the air with life. For a long moment, neither speaks. They simply breathe together, shoulders brushing lightly as they take in the sight before them, the land they fought so hard to protect. It's scarred, yes, but alive, healing, much like them. Calla tilts her head slightly, glancing at Drake from the corner of her eye. His golden gaze is fixed on the horizon, though there's a softness to his expression now, a quiet gratitude that mirrors her own. Without thinking, she reaches for his hand, her fingers intertwining with his. He doesn't pull away. Instead, he squeezes gently, the gesture speaking volumes where words fall short. "The pack will rebuild," she says finally, her voice steady despite the emotions swirling within her. "It won't be easy, but we'll get there." Drake nods, turning to meet her gaze. "We will. Together." There's no hesitation in his tone this time, only certainty. And not just the pack. Us too. Her lips curve into a faint smile, the first genuine one she's allowed herself in weeks. "You mean forgiveness?" "I mean trust," he corrects softly, lifting her hand to press a kiss against her knuckles. Forgiveness was the first step. Trust is what comes next. Calla feels something inside her loosen. A knot she hadn't realized was still tied. She exhales slowly, leaning into him ever so slightly. For the first time in what feels like an eternity, she lets herself believe that they truly can move forward. That love isn't just about passion or loyalty. It's about choosing each other, even when it's hard. As the sun climbs higher, bathing them in its light, the narrator's voice takes over, rich and resonant. Love conquers all, even the deepest wounds of betrayal. Their bond may have been tested, but it emerged stronger than ever. Because sometimes forgiveness is the greatest act of love. The camera lingers for a heartbeat longer, capturing the quiet intimacy between Calla and Drake as they watch the sunrise. Then it fades to black, leaving viewers with a sense of hope and anticipation for whatever challenges lie ahead. If you loved this epic tale of betrayal, redemption, and romance, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to I Love Romance Stories for more captivating audiobooks. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new release.